Yes, in all its glory. We just heard the Rosenkavalier Suite by Richard Strauss, and that was the Frankfurt Symphony Orchestra there.
I haven't heard it for ages.
Oh, it's marvellous, isn't it?
So refreshing, isn't it?
It is refreshing. It's just rich and sinuous and wonderful harmonic colours. It's a piece of such gravitas, and it's slightly anarchistic as well, because the opera takes the it slightly takes the piss with the waltz.
Yeah, the waltz is quite almost bucolic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, exactly. That's it. Spot on. It sort of amplifies it and distorts it somewhat, but all in good taste.
You're right.
Yeah, so a work written in 1911. It's got personal significance, of course, because that's what AYO are doing on their Adelaide, or they're in Adelaide at the moment, and they're doing their special week of rehearsals and performances in Adelaide, and this is one of the big features of their program. So Hen's in it, and he's enjoying it enormously, sending excerpts and various little quips. So yeah, exciting times. So Happy New Year to you, Frank.
And a Happy New Year to you, and a very Happy New Year to listeners.
Yes. Welcome to another year of missions. We've been going since 2016, so we're we're going for a while. Might be 17, something like that.
About 2 or 3 years later, I think.
Yes, you came in a little bit later, but no, it's fantastic. I mean, I sort of see it as beginning when you came along, to be honest. I think the rest of that was just I don't know, some sort of experiment. But yeah, anyhow, we'll look forward to more missions and more exploration as the year unfolds. Lots of listening. Now I'm being a bit distracted because I'm getting a strange hum behind me. And I don't know what it's from. Anyhow, I'll investigate that shortly.
I can't hear it, but I'm not getting any loads from you.
No,
anyway.
That's okay. I think it's... look, I've had to do a lot of reconfiguring in here. I've only been back a few days, and I spent one day just trying to sort things out here because we lost one of the delegation mixers, and I had to replace a FET voltage regulator that had burnt out, and the capacitor, and unfortunately it had made a mess of the circuit board, and it's really hard to deal with these things. I'm not really good at sort of surgically revamping circuit boards, and
who is these days?
Oh, it's difficult. You've got to use a scalpel, and I haven't got microscope type glasses and things. And so I sort of did it, and it didn't work, and then I played around with it, and it suddenly did work, and it's sort of working now, and I'm hoping it's going to stay that way. Yeah. And I put a much bigger capacitor, a much more highly temperature-rated capacitor. It's a fault in the mixer. Looking online, a lot of people have had this problem, but it fries the circuit board, which makes it all a bit tenuous. So anyhow, it's working at the moment, and I'm pleased to have that back in service. And so yeah, that's one of the many little micro projects since returning from the trip, and had a great walk, Frank. We walked all throughout the Kosciuszko range.
Wonderful.
And in some areas where that missing hiker, we're all very aware of the missing hiker, which has been a big prominent thing on the news. And we were aware of his, and we were told to look out for him. And we did actually walk in some areas that he did. But he miraculously survived 2 weeks in the bush. So
that's wonderful. What a wonderful thing to do.
It's an incredible story. So he survived, and for us it was an adventure. We revisited parts of the alpine walking track that Kate and I walked in 1998, and 26 years later we sort of went back with 3 of our kids, and it was, I've got to get rid of this hum, it's terrible. Something's going on here. Don't know where it's coming from. Have I got something switched in? No, I don't know. I'll have to invest. It's not going on here. It's a monitoring problem. Something's switched on and it's resonating.
Okay.
Anyhow, I'll deal with it. Yeah. So the walk was great. We had to do a lot of trackless walking, and which involved initially involved compass, because we couldn't get the GPS coordinates downloaded as we expected to, and so that was an adventure. We had one day where we had to do 10 hours of trackless walking, all 5 of us. But we eventually got to a node where we hoped to, but it took all day, and it was quite stressful. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was.
You didn't really have any guidance.
Well, we didn't only maps and compass bearings and things, but what we hadn't planned for was the fact that there'd been fires, a number of big fires through the area since we last did the walk.
Okay.
And whereas a lot of the landmarks were sort of familiar, the undergrowth had built up just incredibly. I mean, what used to be alpine grasslands is now thickets up to your shoulders.
Oh, no.
So
you had to hack through that.
Yeah, we did for quite a bit. So that changed the sort of whole approach. And but only in only in like that one difficult day and a couple of difficult days actually. But yeah, so we're out for 9 days, and it was beautiful though. It's just so wonderful being in the Australian bush, and just I love camping and feeling the resonance of nature, and walking with the girls are really set on it. They love it. Olivia wants to do the entire 700-kilometre alpine walk now.
Oh my God!
So she's keen. I mean, whether she does it or not, it's a lot of planning. It took us a year to plan back in 1998.
Yeah.
But if she chooses to plan it and do it, well, support her. It's marvellous, and you disconnect from all of the creature comforts, and you can't shower for days on end, and all of that, and you just live with your house on your back and limited means and all of that. But
that was the food situation.
Look, we over-catered, and we thought we might. We ended up not eating all the food we brought, which means you've got more on your back. Kate's very keen to get back on the track and do more of this sort of thing, which I'm just really excited about. I think
isn't that wonderful?
It's wonderful.
Can do some more of these holidays?
Oh, well, no. Well, the next few days we'll just lie low and just we need to sort of come back down. We need to rest and come back down to earth. Yeah. But in future, we'll probably do some more walks in New Zealand and various things.
Yeah.
So there's a few plans ahead, and the girls are particularly keen to do more on their own account. So yeah, all in all, it was a really successful 10 days or 9 days or so. So that's the story of the post-Christmas sojourn. Yeah, so back to reality.
Back to reality, yeah.
Which is
what a wonderful reality that was, though.
Yeah, it was. And you meet really interesting people, Frank. Just so many people just doing the walk either solo or passionate environmentalists and people who have got a particular interest. And we met one gentleman who lives in Cooma, and he's out just to document with GPS where the old stock areas were. So he's walking in the middle of thick bush looking for remnants of the where they used to graze up in the highlands in the before 1955, and there's still some evidence of that, and he's just documenting it as a historical survey.
That's wonderful. So
that was really interesting. Just you meet people with a very personal connection with the environment.
Oh, one just so good.
Yeah,
and they've all got a story to tell, I bet.
Look, everyone's got a story to tell, and it's all a bit timeless. You sort of have lots more time on your hand, and it's you become acquainted with the domestics of walking, and you can just sort of not have to deal with all of the complexities of home life. No. It's really attractive, I have to say. Yeah, so that was particularly good. So there we are. That's the latest.
Well done. That's congratulations.
Oh, thank you. But, and, well, when we spoke last, you'd seen The Messiah, and I think we spoke just before New Year.
Yes, I think so.
And so, has there been any other concerts or particular musical inspirations?
Not really, no. We've, nothing, it's just been a round of social, sort of meeting people and eating and occasionally drinking too much.
That's brilliant. Absolutely.
But
Should be more, yeah.
that is self-limiting as one gets older.
Yes, I understand. Totally understand.
But it's been very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And we caught up with I had a cousin down from Cairns.
Oh, good.
And we spent a couple of days with him and his sister who lives here.
Great.
And a friend, the son of a friend who's also a close friend who's been living in Tahiti.
Okay.
He was married to a French woman, and the marriage broke up, unfortunately.
Okay.
But he has 2 children who are both bilingual.
Oh, right. Okay.
Without trying, it's just get that being exposed to the 2 languages.
Yeah.
And they were with him. And I had a very interesting talk with both of them. They're lovely kids, and
good.
sort of having just rejoining their father and that whole experience as well.
Yeah, sure. Oh, that's good. That's nice to hear, Frank.
So quite a lot going on in a totally, quiet way.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the way it should be.
Yeah. And we're reasonably well.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I'm pleased to hear that you are, and Kathy is.
Yes, she is reasonably well.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, that's a little debrief. One thing I was going to mention, I heard from John Fleming this afternoon, or actually I heard from him yesterday, and one of our regular missions listeners who's actually since moved into state, so I don't think he's a regular listener now, but Walter used to listen to us all the time.
Right.
And his daughter Alina lives in Los Angeles and her house was burnt down in the fires.
Oh my God!
So it's sort of a connection, quite a close connection with that dreadful event. And he sent me a video of her just looking at the site of her house and accounting the damage, and it's just very poignant, and it just brings home how vulnerable we are in the face of the elements.
Oh yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
amazing. It's in the middle of their winter as well.
Yeah, that's right. Extraordinary, isn't it?
It's quite extraordinary.
It is, and the damage is just unbelievable. It just makes you realise how, when you get a certain dryness, it's anything can. It doesn't matter what season it is.
No.
It just takes strong winds and the right conditions, and then anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to Alina and family, I extend best wishes.
As do I.
Yeah. All right. Well,
This is vk3sl and contact vk3sl crossband duplex, 2 meters to 160 meters.
That's right. So if people want to tune into what we're doing, you can listen on 1865 or on 438.725. Also streaming online. YouTube stream featuring the what's been a sort of an associated sort of forum to keep the program going, and for online listeners, and that's current as well. So just look up my call sign on YouTube, vk3sl, and there's a station. There is a channel devoted just to logging these programs and our live presentations as well. So that's all happening, and it's working as it should. As I mentioned, I had to do a lot of reconfiguring in here, so I'll probably spend a bit of time just checking things as we go. I did a preliminary check and tried to align it all, but it's a lot of ridiculous complexity here. It's sort of layered, one layer upon another, and it's not necessarily very logical, and it's just sort of grown organically from one sort of awkward state to another. So it
Sounds like what they used to call Heath Robinson.
Yes, exactly, spot on. It is.
Not quite sure how he got lumbered with that. But
Yes, that correlates for sure. So we'll just test things as we go. But we'll start off as we always do with a 20s hit, and on the table, it's a record I've played many times before. But I've had some really interesting discussions with my daughters about gender politics and all of that.
yeah.
And so really illuminating and very inspiring, actually. They're reading some great feminist literature at the moment, which we talked a lot about. But I thought I'd play this record for Olivia, who's is still walking. She's actually gone to meet her cousin, and they're doing their own independent thing out on the coast east of Cooma.
Right.
But but I'd like to play this anyhow. It's the Savoy Orpheans from 1925, and it's a classic hit of theirs called Masculine Women and Feminine Men. So let's have a listen to the frontier gender politics from that time. The interrupted cadence at the end. 20s hit.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's a fascinating record, and it reflects the sentiment of the times. Which is the rooster, which is the hen, all of that. And things haven't really changed, I suppose, or they've evolved.
That was 100 years ago.
Yeah, exactly 100 years ago.
Yeah.
1925. It's amazing, isn't it?
It's changed very little.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that it was the same for thousands of years.
I'm sure it was. It's just,
Just manifested
yeah,
to various levels in different social circumstances.
absolutely. And interestingly, with that one, this is the burgeoning radio era, the era of mass dissemination of recordings. And so suddenly these themes became probably a lot more omnipresent and galvanizing and all of that.
Well, I think so, but it was interesting. A different kind of overhang of can I say, Gaydom being illegal in those days.
Yeah, definitely.
So it put a slight edge to it.
It would have put an edge to it, and it would have been probably a little uncomfortable in some circles.
I think so.
Yeah, but interestingly, Britain was sort of a little bit cutting edge in that way. They sort of always had their sort of subcultures and things, and I don't know, but I mean, we look at what happened to Oscar Wilde, but
indeed, and so many others, Ben Britain and North.
That's right, absolutely, you're so right. So yeah, I don't know. I think there was a certain sort of acceptance on one level, but but not
Yeah.
not holistically.
No, well, that's it.
Interesting. There's another socially slightly, I won't say progressive, but interesting song from that same year that was, it just happened to be next to this record. I may have paired them up for a particular reason. I can't remember. It's Jan Garber and his orchestra from the year 25 again, or early 26. And I think the words of this are also quite sort of out there. It's How Could Red Riding Hood?
Okay.
It's probably not in the same sort of vein.
No.
No.
Could Red Riding Hood have been so very good and still keep the wolf from the door? Father and mother, she had none. So where in the world did the money come from? Please let me ask it, who filled her basket? The storybook never tells. They say that she was a maid most discreet, and there is no doubt she must have been sweet. But you know, and I know, that sweet girls must eat. How could Red Riding Hood have been so very good and still keep the wolf from the door?
Okay, I wouldn't call that progressive. I'd say it's outwardly misogynistic, but it is of the time. And interesting lyrics, nevertheless. They're questioning some conventions. Yeah. But I really quite like that record. I like the orchestration. It's very mid-20s with all those little short shifts and gear changes and little vamp characteristics.
Yeah, it's very lively, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's that way. Yeah, all right. Well, I haven't been able to use the SP10 for a while because of the way the systems have been out of order, but I've now switching it in for the first time for a month or so, and we'll try it out with a recording of the quintet for the Hot Club of France. I found a few of their records sort of hibernating, and so I thought it might be fun to play some of these.
Oh, yeah.
They're great. I mean, I just love listening to Django Reinhardt. There's a raw energy. There's the rhythm section, the rhythm guitars to support him. It was a very innovative approach because he realised he couldn't play chords in the conventional sense because he had only two fingers.
Exactly.
So he just organised a good rhythm section to kick ass, so to speak.
Oh, he did, and didn't it kick ass?
It did. It just had such a great authority. And
his brother was one of them, wasn't he?
yeah, I think you're right. Yes.
He was on rhythm.
Yeah, on rhythm. And then so he just sort of did the melodic stuff, which in a way sort of paved the way for a lot of later guitar innovations when you think of it.
Certainly did.
Yeah, so, think about it. It's interesting. And Grappelli is in great form on this as well. So here we go. We'll hear a great recording called Swing Guitars. Have the quintet for the Hot Club of France and a track called Swing Guitars. Great raw energy there with a vibrant ensemble.
What was the timing of that? Early 30s?
Yeah, mid-30s maybe. Yeah, it's a B catalogue. I think it's mid-30s. The other side's a great track actually, and with a vocal by Freddie Taylor, also featuring Stephen Grappelli and Django Reinhardt and the quintet. It's Georgia on My Mind. So
oh yeah,
I think this is certainly worth a play.
Yeah.
Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through, babe, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind, on the land below. Georgia, Georgia, the song of you comes as soft and clear as the moonlight through the pine. Other arms reach out to me, other eyes smile tenderly. Still in peaceful dreams I see the road leads back to you, baby. Georgia, Georgia, no peace I find, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind.
Quintet for the Hot Club of France there with Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli. Love it. Love that sound, that density, all the guitars sort of rhythmizing together.
Yeah, lovely.
It's such good music. Really enjoy it. And, of course, Django had two fingers. That's all he had.
Yeah.
Amazing, really.
Amazing that he kept going.
Yeah, and
That he's tried, that he thought he could.
yeah, absolutely. And just so you could just navigate, you just developed such a pigeon technique on his own accord. I've got another one here. This from that set. I'd like to play this. This is a Decca 78, maybe recorded a few years later. An interesting track here by both of them, Reinhardt and Grappelli. It's called Hungaria. So, on Decca. This is a nice laminated disc. It should sound really good. we go. Hungaria is the name of the track, and we heard the quintet, the Hot Club of France, there with Stefan Capelli and Django Reinhardt. Yeah, I might as well play the last one to make it a foursome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the other side of this disc is My Melancholy Baby.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, great track. And
Al Bowley had the big hit.
yes.
Way big hit.
Yes, he did. That's so true. And it fascinates me that in this context, you really you could never use a drummer. The rhythm impetus from the guitars is so driving and so absolute, and with the bass and the rhythm guitars, I think there's
You don't miss the drum at all, do you?
You don't, and I think it's I think there's two rhythm guitars and the feature guitar, and five of them. So yeah, it's a great effect. So but having good rhythm players certainly adds so much to it. All right, let's hear the other side, My Melancholy Baby. They're so in sync. It reminds me of Fats Waller. I don't think they would have needed to rehearse much. I think it was sort of in their DNA. There's such a global understanding. Great to hear their performance. You've inspired me, Frank. I've dialed up a recording of the same piece played by, sung by Al Boldy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but this one's a little different. It's from a Pathé newsreel from 1934. And I remember seeing this years ago, and he sings with such heart. It's so beautiful. It's so moving. And I think it's worth a play since we're sort of riffing on this piece at the moment. So
I used to not think a great deal of Al Bowley, and I now realise what a great singer he was.
Oh, he was just a very inherently musical. Really put his heart and soul into everything. Yeah,
and it just comes through.
Yeah, he sings with his eyes closed, and you can see he's just emoting and feeling the essence of the music, and it comes through very strongly. So anyhow, we'll hear this from a British Pathé newsreel, and I think he announces it.
I just want to say hello to everybody over here. My first number will be Melancholy Baby. Thank you, Morgan. Go right ahead. Come to me, my melancholy baby. Just cuddle up and don't be blue. All your fears are foolish fancy made. You know, honey, I'm in love with you. Every cloud must have its silver lining. So wait until that sun shines through. Smile, my honey dear, while I kiss away each tear, or else I shall be melancholy too. Come, sweetheart mine, don't sit and pine. Tell me of the cares that make you feel so blue. I'm sorry, hon, what have I done? Have I ever said an unkind word to you? My love is true, and just for you, I'll do almost anything at any time. Dear, when you sigh or when you cry, something seems to grip this very heart of mine. Come to me, my melancholy baby. Just cuddle up and don't be blue. All your fears are foolish fancy, maybe. Why, you know, honey, I'm in love with you. Every cloud must have its silver lining. Oh, so wait until that sun shines through. Smile, my honey dear, while I kiss away each tear, or else I shall be melancholy too. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow, how's that? That was sung beautifully, actually. I really acknowledge his...
Never heard it sung better.
Yeah, there's so much freedom in his phrasing, and gosh, it's Crosby-esque though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
He really sort of drew his inspiration from...
Beautiful stuff. I didn't realise it had a verse.
Yeah, no, I didn't need that. There's more to it than what we usually hear.
Back in the very early days of the missions, at that time on the coffee break, there was a guy called whose call sign was vk3sl.
AP?
And his name was Al Bowley.
Oh, really?
And of course they called him the singer.
Did they really? Isn't that marvellous? Did he stay around?
Oh, he was around for a long time. Yes,
Okay.
quite a while.
Yeah.
Quite a while. He seemed a very mild-mannered sort of bloke.
Yeah.
Quite,
fabulous.
okay.
Al Bowley, how about that? Oh, I wonder if he's still with us.
No. No one in the 50s much is still with us.
Oh, right back. Yeah, okay. From the... Oh, my goodness me.
Very early days of... Not the early days of the coffee break. That's been going for I don't know how long. A huge long time.
Yeah. Since the 60s, perhaps.
But certainly, I'm talking about the early to mid 70s, when the Missions were getting off. Dave and Tony were talking all the time.
Yeah.
And Paul.
Yes. So next time I see Dave, I'll ask him about Albany.
About the singer, yes.
About the singer.
You'll remember.
Yeah, there's a dictionary. There was a sort of a magazine put out. Oh, it was like a one-off, I think. It was like a little sort of periodical thing, and with it may have been sort of one of Swinburne's magazine.
Yeah.
And it was devoted to missions.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, and
I didn't know about that. Tony would have had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, he did. I think so. I think he sort of heralded it, and it was all about the missions. And it's got all of the. I think it was called Contronics or something.
Oh yeah.
And it's got missionaire speak and all of the early players and all the pseudonyms attached to luminaries and the institution.
How many copies exist of that?
I think there's one, and it's been put up online.
Is it?
Yeah, it's out there, and it was on Tony's website.
Okay.
And I think his website's kept up as a legacy site still.
Is it really? It's not. Chris hasn't taken it over, has he?
No, he hasn't. A friend of Chris's is sort of kept it going.
Okay.
And it's out there, or it was out there.
I've got to have a look.
I'm hoping it's still there. It's got. I mean, it's basically just stopped where Tony finished. He was very into British comedy, and there's a lot of files of.
You love the Goons.
The Goons and Take It From Here and a whole lot of Carry On stuff.
Oh yeah. And of course there were the things he used to do himself or with Joe.
Yes.
The one about the.
Oh yes, the tunnel and all of and the 84 floors. I remember the first time I heard that, I almost thought it was real because it was so sort of
graphic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very clever the way they sort of just the nature of their interaction.
I know.
And I made my own knock off of it with which I'd never play on air because it's embarrassing. But I did it with my son Henry when he was really young. He got into the car and went to the moon.
Terrific.
But it was a similar thing. I gave him just a UHF transmitter, and we had this discussion of other places, and it was a fun venture. But it was inspired by 84 Floors, and he, as a 10-year-old, he heard all that mission stuff.
What do you think?
Oh, he loved it. At that age, he was just immersed. And
as was I, even at much older.
Yeah, Henry's heard it all when he was young, and I think he almost had to sort of emancipate himself from it a bit because it was sort of like.
Scary at times.
Well, he was only a young kid, and,
I know.
These are all old men, you know.
Yeah, of course.
But there was a point where he was listening to it all, and we sort of emulated the just the nature of the displaced sort of circumstance of the 84 Floors. We did it with a moon trip. But
Joe YSP is still around.
Yes, he is. Yes, I asked him about it, and he's very it's not a comfortable discussion.
No, he's slightly cringed about it now.
Yeah, I think he is. I didn't want to go there. I enthusiastically sort of inquired about when I saw him. He said, "Oh, that was me at 16."
And it was.
It was, absolutely, and people.
But all to his credit, though.
Yeah, totally, and people are entitled to move on.
Well, of course they are.
Yeah.
But I hope he's able to get some pleasure out of knowing that other people still enjoy it.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. That's what I think is sort of it needs to be the lasting legacy of these things. But it's universal in a way.
Marvellous stuff.
And we all live through different eras, and we can all be different people, and it is marvellous. It's wonderful. But yes, there is a legacy website for Tony. He had a lot of stuff up. He had a big page on Autofond cartridges, which he was really into.
What?
Yes, and all the Goon stuff and all of the British comedy and lots of old missions files of his own.
I've just got to go and answer the front door.
Yes, you do that. And I will, while you're doing that, I will play another version of Melancholy Baby. This is one that has a different type of resonance. It's probably the first recording of it, actually. And it's with the Whiteman Band. It's a little bit dated. These sort of extended orchestral arrangements don't sort of stand up too well in the modern era. But this one's significant because it has a big solo behind Austin Young, who's doing the vocals on this. So go back to 1928, another version of My Melancholy Baby.
seem, maybe. You know, dear, that I am strong for you. Every cloud must have a silver lining. Wait until the sun shines through. Smile, my honey dear, while I kiss away each tear, or else I shall be melancholy
There we go. You got the extended mix, Paul Whiteman and the band, featuring Mr. B as a obligato soloist behind the vocal chorus there. Austin Young was the singer, and an extended arrangement of My Melancholy Baby.
Very good.
Yeah, so did you get to hear the big solo there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's a marvellous solo. It's one of his best. Yeah, I'm just trying to find reference to I don't think the Blue Haze site is up anymore, Tony's site, but it would be somewhere in the web archive, in the Internet archive. So I'll investigate this and see if I can find it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of associated files and links and things. I don't know to what extent it's been mirrored, but if it's there, and I'll certainly alert you to it, because it'll bring you back. And he was active working on it right up to the time he died. So it's all his latest thinkings, and he was quite proud of his mission's heritage, and it's expressed there.
I think he was, and rightly so.
Oh, totally. Yeah. So, well, I'd love you to get have a look at the Contronics magazine, because it's got all of the missions avatars there. And,
really?
Yeah, everyone's names and everyone's explained. It's like a glossary of everyone associated with the whole missions tradition.
Yeah.
And a snapshot from the mid-1970s.
It would be superb.
It's really good. So and it's got things like circuits and all sorts of sort of crazy stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Coombs gets a good representation.
Good.
Yeah.
Mr. Coombs a little while ago somewhere. I'm just trying to remember where it was.
Okay.
Oh, it might have been the Old Timers.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it was, at lunch.
Yeah. I got,
a good chap.
That's really good to hear.
I didn't realise he was an architect.
Yes. He had quite a distinctive career. In fact, he's got a great Instagram site with pictures of buildings of the sort of postmodern buildings that interest him.
Oh, really?
And so I've had a look at that, and I had a discussion with him about that. So his partner spent her working life as a doctor, but she also plays the viola. So Ruth plays the viola and is now very active playing in community orchestras on the viola. So
that's great.
Isn't that a wonderful story?
It's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
There's a very good orchestra made up of medical people.
Yes.
Be aware of it.
Yes, I'm very aware of it. Henry's played with them, and I had quite a lot to do with them myself, actually, a long time ago. And
I know somebody who's in it.
Yeah, it's a great orchestra. They're really good.
I know her father, anyway.
Okay, sure. Yeah, they do. They have regular concerts. I get their mailer and I go to some of them.
Very good.
They usually
high standard, aren't they?
They're very high standard. A lot of medical people did music as well.
Yeah.
And when I was doing the course, I'd say half of them were doing double degrees in medicine, or a lot of them were.
My friend Harold Fabricator, of course, did both.
Ah, yes.
Followed both to a very high level.
Yes.
In fact, he had to make a decision as to whether he wanted to be a medical specialist or a concert pianist.
Well, there we go. That's interesting. Fascinating. I mean, wow. How about that?
A fair bit of parental pressure, I think, to do what he did.
Yes, it was possibly more, concert pianist. I think it would bleed you dry in the end.
I think so. I don't think he regrets it.
No, and I
Kind
think
of had the better of both worlds.
yeah, and I think being a medico, you'd be working with real people and real scenarios, and being a concert artist is very pie in the sky.
Can be.
It can be. I mean,
It's also very ethereal. I mean, it can melt away in a very quickly.
that's right, and and a lot of people on that level sort of find it's not an easy journey, but
Competition's very stiff, isn't it?
yeah, it is. But to be able to be sort of be able to explore music on your own terms is pretty amazing. So
A few people do it.
yeah, and I think it's great that he took that on board. I'd love to meet him, Frank.
Love you to meet him. I'd see if we can arrange it.
Well, if it's possible, I'd like to meet him.
If he has another recital, I might see if I can get you a ticket,
well,
as it were.
yeah.
Be interested in coming.
I'd be very interested in coming. I'd really enjoy that. That'd be great. There's been all sorts of interesting things pop up. There's some more interviews with Artie Shaw.
Oh, great.
And
we must hear them at some point.
oh, look, I'll play one shortly. Have you got a little bit of? I'll play just a couple of tracks first, and then it's in two parts. It's an interview I've never heard before. It's later in life. He'd be in his 80s, and it's not that long ago actually. And he's very, you can really hear his philosophical reckoning and the difficulty he had with the music industry and being an independent spirit. And
he's one of the most interesting people in music that I've heard, really.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, he's pretty scathing.
I know.
But
doesn't hold back.
Yeah, it doesn't hold back. I mean, he's just says what he thinks. But at the same time, you get a sense of his vulnerability, and you get a sense of his, his wrestling with his creative will and all of that sort of thing, which I always find very moving when I hear anyone, no matter what their personality is like, if they're sort of wanting to express themselves in any domain, it's really, really quite compelling.
So totally.
Yeah.
Because we all would love to do it, really.
We would, absolutely. And he did, it was... he actually quit at the very, very top of his game, and he couldn't understand why people just kept doing the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I sort of get that.
I get it too.
Yeah, and I mean, we enjoy the likes of all those wonderful, marvellous musicians who did so much, but really a lot of them sold their souls to do it.
Yep.
And bits ceased to become creative, really. They just sort of became the same thing. But he explains that in his own very personal way.
Yeah.
But he says one of the most interesting projects he did in the later part of his career, which would have been in the early 50s, because I think he more or less cut loose by 1954.
Yeah.
He did quite a few projects working with bands in the 70s and 80s, but he would never play. Once he put his instrument away, that was it. And he would sort of direct, and he would participate in some sort of interesting project, but he wouldn't play. So there are a number of people who testify to having great creative association with Artie Shaw, because he stayed in the music industry, but not in a lesser sense, but more as an associate and as a support for other people.
Yeah.
So, but look, he did some projects with strings, and so I'll play a couple of these. They're really interesting. This one's called Dancing on the Ceiling. It's an album he put out in about 1954.
Oh, there's a song called it, yes, I know.
Yeah, so we'll play this and a couple of others, and then I'll play the first part of the interview. go. It's a track called Dancing on the Ceiling. It's from an album featuring strings. There wasn't a lot of strings were definitely playing on that recording, but it was one of the last creative expressions of Artie Shaw.
Right.
Yeah, another one. Here's called A Deserted Farm.
Was he playing?
Yes, he
Was
would.
him?
Yes, definitely him. There's no doubt about that. This one's called A Deserted Farm. This is all about 1954, just before he cut loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found that Contronics magazine, by the way.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, so I'll see if I can do a quick reading for it after this. So we'll hear A Deserted Farm. Okay, we have A Deserted Farm. That was the music of Artie Shaw. Yeah, it was really good. I really liked it. This is great. It's really good to see this again. I'm going to send you a link. It's on the web archive.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'll start off with there's a dictionary of mission speak.
I have to make a correction. I've just realised I made an error.
Yeah.
The Al Bowley.
Yeah.
Alan Bowley. Al Bowley was not known as the singer.
Yeah.
He was known as the sewing machine.
As the sewing machine. Okay. Okay.
You get it?
Sewing machine.
Singer, sewing machine.
Oh, singer. Yes, of course. That's like Cockney speak, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, here we go. The dictionary. I'll read it through. Assault and then and battery, a recent type of energizer produced by the Stew and Jack the Ferry Wiseman, originally tested by the foyer of the ABC, now discontinued.
Brilliant.
Asparagus, rumours which are hinted about someone, used in the context of casting. Bash, to vibrate either co or destructively, as in tube, or preferred description of a piece of equipment which has been
Totally
ED.
wrecked.
Yeah. Billages having no consequence. Generic. Bill, preferred from Bill Sievers, heard on the SM cast. Stu. Boom Booty Boom, what your heart does when you get a letter marked P and T or second adjective reference to people of a dark background. Branch, Regulatory and Licensing Department of the Postal and Telecommunications Department. Generic. Also nullities.
Yes, definite nullities.
Yes. Breakfast cereal. C. Headphones. Browns. A brew for the ailing as used by Mr. Tinnies.
Indeed.
Car. A piece of equipment that must be driven. C. Mitters. 3ZZ X-Band, Stu and Beck. It's got little references and quotes.
Oh, yes, that's a particular, yeah.
Yeah, cardnoid shaped like a Valentine's Day card. Sievers, a radio, TV, ting machine, etc. Stu. At the end, it's got the sort of the who posted it or who's associated with.
Yeah.
Sievers, a radio. I've said that. A chair, Beck's boss, Bean. Chips, sea fish. Constellation, a consolation prize. Chords, a piece of a scratched vinyl, ing, a copy of music conversation. Acoustic, not acoustic, but acoustic, relating to the sonic properties of a place, a stew. Cropophones, a low frequency converter, audio to EMF.
Yeah.
Gone for extensive travels, generic. DB, you never have enough of this stuff, amateur radio term. Deeves, the amount of FM signal varies from its centre, as not enough. Denigram, a prelude to being shot in the leg. Evening, enthusiastic expression for occasions of greetings and departure. Stew. Electrostatics, C. Headphones. Ethnic, relating to morals and questions of morality. We don't do dishonest things to people because, well, we wouldn't do that because it's not ethnic. The study of moral principles. Factors pertaining to annoying things, people, or situations.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Fiends, a non-deducing stimulant. Fix, sound, special sounds designed to lead the listener. Sound in 84 floors, etc. Branch.
Yes.
Having Phi, having a wide dynamic range in response to at least 16 kilohertz without distortion. Stu and Beck. Fish or gills, chips or scales. That's parents. That's MJ Ross.
I wonder how that started.
Yeah, I think the name associated with these MJ Ross might be
Michael Ross.
Yeah, Michael. It must be the
3LT. He was.
Okay. All right. Formers, a device involving changing magnetic flux to transform voltages and match impedances. Gary Ord's patch cords, Stu and Beck.
Yeah.
Genders, a port of no call, a port. Gills, sea fish. G's or Jerry's, geriatric cases, Stu and Beck.
Yes.
Headphones, the genus and hierarchy of mind-distracting sonic reproducers, that is Browns, a true enhancer of works of music, especially those written in the key of D. Heisers or breakfast cereal, the next species in the hierarchy. Heisers in their natural state can be identified by their distinctively serrated transducers. Electrostatics or ancient currency, these sound exceptionally good but have been known to permanently impair the hearing. The effects of listening to all of these devices can be described as engrossing. T, an exclamation of futility, disapproval or depression, generic. Holes or browns, of the hydroxyl group. C, headphones. Not to be confused. House, not very good indeed. Titled, Stu and Beck, a brand of fiends, generic. Okay, we're getting there.
Oh, yeah.
This is fun. There you go. I've got to move on to the next page. Oh, if I missed one, let's see. Trobes, unfortunate alternative to Nash. T-Store, an expensive electronics store run by Mr. Tandy, generic. Titles, to act upon something as to break it or destroy it.
Yes.
To be ED is to be in the state of disrepair, as I am ED. Peter Evans, 3LO.
Oh, yeah.
Typewriter, a complex audio device for testing every parameter of a system. Tiny Tots, a worthless Zines steering the Nev and the Row.
Yeah.
Said to have died with John Moyle. Eulators, mod, perk, may burble, not working, or working. Laters. Versile, missions that are not everyone's agrees about. Vols, the pain level coming from speaks. Vaulting, particularly scuffing. Lots of commas in front of words. Versatilities, the home of the radio club. Nash, generic. Visions, the idiot box, not to be confused with the virtual aspect of headphones. Expand, the medium of bad missions, the effect achieved when the branch mits on 160 while listening to the other side of the conversation on 6 or 2 meters.
Yes.
The person at the other end listens to the branch on 160 meters while mitting on 6 or 2 meters. Zine, a periodical. Muric, nality, that charismatic quality of personal dynamicism, a charismatic person that is a big multimedia nality, generic. Intermissions, a gap between 2 sets of missions. Popular sayings, we say evening or simply evening. Yes. Wouldn't it worry you?
Wouldn't it worry you?
Yes. Well, what do you make of it? Well, that's most...
That's from Coffee Break.
Yeah, oh, okay. Well, what do you make of it?
What do you make of it?
What do you
really
make of
Coffee
it?
Break.
Yeah, very good. Next one is, well, that's most interesting. Well, righto, chaps, let's pack it in. So much for humour. What's going on? The Stew's law of missions. You can't do that. Can't do the missions if you don't know what's going on. Famous nalities. Agar, trendy, one-time sincere member of the clan.
Yes, he was.
BD Man, 3BDX. Yes, our crossband correspondent to the South America, now builder of PBS mitters. Beck or Spotty features, Spotty Beck or Spotty Beck features. Bez, the Prez.
Yeah.
Braithwaite, a very slack dober who resides in the Red Tenors, who continuously gives tings, also known as the stool pigeon. Branch, 3AML, king of the missions, also known as the Elstonwick branch, and almighty creator of crossbands.
No, he shared the title with ASCO.
Yeah. Charlie, the Tuttle. Coat from Duffel, first name Kevin. Cumes, also known as vacuum cleaners, not due to his suction ability, but rather his surname, Godfrey. Duck, 380W. Ernie signal generator. Ferry, a place near Sydney, is Wiseman Ferry. Egg, John Eggington. Fox, a very cunning ham.
Yes, that's a fox. I used to love that one.
Yes, that's interesting too.
The Cunningham.
Yes, that's right. Head 1, a certain medical student who prefers CRTs to headphones. 2, yes, or Smith Head rip-off merchant or a millionaire rivaling the T-Chain who resides in Sydney. Hal Todd, a great personal friend of Leon the Watch King. Henry, the king of the coffee break.
He was.
Holes, a Murek regulator, personal computer addict, etc. Izzy, Tuttled. ISI, Tuttled. I don't know. Kilt or RAJ, Reynolds. Full big ears or Dum. It's in storage. A name bestowed upon its creator. I've met the Kilt in recent times because he's into photography.
I used to hear it. He ran Serious Powers, I remember. Hence the Kilt, I think.
Right.
Short for.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we've got the Knock or Grassman, G-Man, the Pope, a lawnmower, not a mercenary type, a person with a marked tendency to knock at the door of inopportune hours of the day, ZMM. We had Linda Riestat. Long master of old chords, films, Lightbeam's branch, annoyances, also known as the one-time association with certain eggs. Well, we know about the long. Markovich, Mr. Markovich, TARDIS, Murek, mag editor, survival of the dreaded seclusions, Mitty. Okay, we're getting there. Page 30. There's a lot in this. M, the egg, long-time frustration. Murray, long-time frustration. Murray River, son of Tuttle. Olgs, or Ollie, Murek, correspondent to the National Bank. Phil Silvers, a most unfortunate sight during bad missions. Rollador, 3BND, owner of the 160 equipment which gets used all too rarely.
He was Tony's cousin.
Yes, I believe so. I wonder where that all is now. Ross D. Wire Cutters. Seaweed Man, a fat, sweaty occupant of swivel chairs in Elwood. A rip-off merchant. Sewing Machine, a famous singer of the 30s, was Al Bolly. The Sewing Machine, yay! Well done, that's great. Speedy, that's Joe YSP of 84 fame from surname Gonzalez.
He was Speedy, that's right.
Yeah, Soak, a person whose intelligence is a little lacking, due perhaps to excessive intake of holes. Okay. Stu is the clown prince of crossbands, former number two occupier of the 160, arch enemy of the RIs, usurper of the branch's ratings, now resides on 963 kilohertz AM.
Lovely stuff.
Yeah, VD Man, Bay City Rollers, one-time self-proclaimed ruler of the 6-meter net frequencies. VK3EN, Henry, but really Jerry. Wick, resident of a flat in Brunswick West, known to associate with the Spunk, the Bonds, or Disco Duck.
Fire stations.
Yeah, K, alias Bottle King, talked to him on approximately 2 meters.
Very nice bloke. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
They all are, I mean.
Yeah. Q, or the Q-Man, original famous lexiconographer, dictionaries by request. And May's a recentity on the channel.
Yes.
And
yes,
it goes on
Maisel.
and on. And it mentions the lizard who married...
Became Mrs. Dave.
That's right. And the St Kilda, our resident, the Iron Man who stays up many days and nights building mitters. All others, Mr. and Mrs. This is for those who were not so obvious that they somehow got missed out. Sorry. Okay, so it just gives you the big picture. So
Please send me the link.
I will send you the link now because it's in the Internet Archive and I'll never find it again. So
Please, I must have that.
Yeah, you must. And there's like 40 pages of it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I wonder who did it.
I'm not sure. Someone at Swinburne, I think, put it all together. You could have a good read and we can talk about it further. I'll have to reacquaint myself with it. But it's
bring back a lot of memories.
I'm sure it will. So there we go. That's the glossary and the nullities list. And it's fabulous to sort of reconnect with all that. Yeah, so it's all there in print.
I didn't even have a ticket in those days.
Right.
I didn't get my license till 78.
78. Well, they were still going strong at 78.
Oh, well, they were. I know, yeah, but I mean, back in the palmy days, I reckon was, all the 70s, really.
Yeah.
All the 70s.
Yeah.
And into the 80s.
Yeah, sure.
But I was in Canberra in 78, so...
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's lovely. Look, I'll send it all to you and then we can talk more about it because I need to reread it and sort of get my mind back into it. Mr. Newbeck is very...
It'd be really interesting one day to sit down and talk to Dave about it all.
Yeah, totally. Oh, you'd have a lot to say. We'll have to...
He wants to have a get-together. He told me when I spoke to him before the last picnic mission...
Yeah.
That we had a lovely talk to him for about half an hour.
Okay.
On the phone, and he's keen to get together. He said it's your place, but it could be anywhere.
Yeah,
you and I and Mr. AML.
Yes.
And discuss things.
Yes, definitely. Reconnect. That would be fun. I'd really enjoy that. I think it'd be great fun to do that. We can do it here. No problems whatsoever. It's an open house here. We can always make good time for that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris has got COVID. Did you know?
Yes. Yeah. Look, I heard that actually. I got to get in touch with him. I heard that heard unwell. And,
so he's not all that badly unwell, but he's not well.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear. Yeah, I heard that news upon our return, so I've got to get in touch with him. Yeah.
Do my best if you do.
Yes, I will. Absolutely, I will. No worries at all. All right. Well, what I'll do now is I'll ride out with this. I don't know if you probably have dinners and things coming up, but
pretty soon, I think. Yeah.
But look, see if you want to listen to a little bit of this. It's and I can send you the links to this as well.
Yep.
And it's an interview with Artie Shaw, and it is absolutely compelling. There's 2 parts to it, so we'll play one now, and it goes for about 20 minutes, and then there's another one tomorrow. And but look, it's a discussion with Joe Smith, and I think it was recorded in the 1990s unvarnished look at behind the scenes of what the music life can really be like. So it's rustic, it's essential, and really, I think, it just illuminates the difficulties for really creative people in the industry. So at that time, and that's sort of that's the field that we so look towards in our interests. So yeah, all right then, Frank. Well, tomorrow, I'll be around tonight. Yeah, I'm sort of got a bit of mojo at the moment, so I'll play some recordings tonight if you're up and about.
Yeah, it should be okay.
Yeah, it won't go very late, but I'll just play a few things. And
I've got a big day tomorrow, so it'd probably be good if I didn't have to.
Yeah, sure. No, we'll just make it short and sweet.
Not that they'd bother you.
No. I'd rather do it just with you. And we'll just play a few things. There's been a few interesting recordings pop up, and we'll sample some of those. And if you've got anything you'd like to contribute, you're more than welcome to. So just let me know. Have a think.
Yep.
So, 11 o'clock we'll recommence, and tomorrow and Sunday should be around because I'm sort of homebound trying to do projects around the house the next few days. So, yeah. So, anyhow, let's have a listen to Artie Shaw, and it's a really interesting discussion to ride the program today. Thanks, Frank. Catch you later.
Steve. All the best to the listener, and keep listening, please. VK3JR clear and going to listening.
And vk3sl. Thanking everybody for your indulgence, and we'll catch up later on.
The two men that will be talking are Joe Smith and Artie Shaw, both legends in the music business. We will be listening to an off-the-record interview given by Artie Shaw. Joe Smith gets right to it, and Artie Shaw doesn't sugarcoat anything. It's an unvarnished look behind the scenes at what a music life can really be like. I'd love to put some of Artie's music on here as a soundtrack, but I'm not going to risk having licensing and copyright issues. The Library of Congress has authorized fair use of the interview, so if you want to hear some of his music, just go on YouTube. So without further ado, the interview.
If I could be Tommy Dorsey. He loves it. The analyst said, would you sign now on the dotted line to be Tommy Dorsey? Answer is obviously, how can you sign to be somebody you aren't? I mean, I used to look at Tommy used to look at me. He said, Jesus Christ. He'd say to me, I envy you when I lived on my farm. I said, what are you talking about? You envy me. You can have a farm. He said, I envy you being able to live like that. He liked the tumult. He liked to be around crowds.
What about Miller, Goodman, those people?
I can't talk for anyone else.
I mean, did you ever discuss it with them?
Of course. I discussed it with Tony Bennett. Yeah. We had a discussion only last summer. I tried to talk to him. I said, how do you cope with I lost my heart in San Francisco? He said, I'm grateful. I love it that they want me to do that. I said, but don't you understand what I'm talking about? To keep playing the same thing? Don't you go a little ape? Don't you go a little off the wall, a little nutty? No. He said, I'm very grateful. Well, how can you? We're talking on two different levels. He's talking about reception and money and attendance, and I'm talking about inner-person satisfaction.
Other than that, other than having...
There is nothing other than that.
What was about the band business that you did or didn't like?
Man, why don't you ask me what I did like?
What did you
The
like?
music.
The music.
That's all.
Yeah.
At its best, I liked the music. And I wanted to keep on growing, and I was in a business that said no. You say, Goodman, keep playing, sing, sing, sing. To this day, he's still doing it when he's still alive. He's still playing the same thing. You heard that thing he did on PBS? Oh, I couldn't do that. I could no more in the world go back and do that. I mean, it's impossible. Alan Livingston asked me to recreate my band on a record one time. I did, for Capitol. But I didn't play. I had Walt Levinsky play the clarinet. I could no longer stand the enormous effort it takes to achieve what you try to achieve, perfection. And at the same time, be doing it on something I did. It was all done. Why do it again?
When you were sitting there in New York as a sideman when you first came into the city...
I quit then, when I was 23.
Well, why did you quit that? That wasn't the same thing every time either.
I was playing for selling Chevrolets and cigarettes.
That was studio work?
That's all it was. The better the work, the more, quote, commercial. I don't like that word. It's a bad word. But the more monotonous, the more degrading, the more demeaning, the more awful the music was.
Do you feel that held true for bands like Ellington and Basie?
Well, Ellington finally went a little crazy. Yeah. You know that, don't you? When he started writing all this liturgical music. Best he ever did was Cottontail and things like that. That was the best he will ever do. I mean, if he goes down at all as a musician, it'll be for that. You don't go off into these crazy monumental... You know, T.S. Eliot once said, and a very smart remark, no one who ever won the Nobel Prize ever wrote anything worth reading afterwards. You get monumentalized. You take yourself too seriously. The best music I made was when people let me alone and we'd get it blizzard and there's nobody in the audience out there and the managers would go home and I'd say, no, we played for ourselves all night.
Was it possible to have a band without doing that, without touring? And
You tell me how.
I don't know.
I had lawyers, I had all kinds of people. Nobody could ever show me how to keep a band together and be left alone to do what you want. To grow, to develop. You tell an artist, you tell Picasso, keep playing blue. Keep writing blue, period. Keep making those blue things. Tell Elliot to keep writing The Wasteland.
But you could move your music along.
No, you couldn't.
You couldn't?
No, you could not.
You don't think
One of the best bands I've had, some of the records I'm doing now were made in '49. That band died.
How about Woody Herman? Didn't his band change?
I can't talk for Woody Herman. Woody's a vassal of the IRS. If he quits, they'll put him in jail. We know that. Woody said to me one time, I have nothing else. This is all he
I
had.
didn't mean to be bad, but he had different kinds of bands. A band that played the blues and a Stan Getz band.
Whatever, I don't know. Woody is his own life. I
But you had
can't.
different kinds of bands. You had
But if the
string-
audience doesn't buy a band, what's the point of keeping it together?
They bought your band.
Not the '49 one. That was the best band, one of the best bands you ever heard.
49 band, but I'm talking before then. You know,
Well, before then, I tried things and I tried something else. It's like asking Beethoven, why do you write a quartet and a sonata and a symphony? Because you want to try different things. If you're a musician, or if at least you're cursed with this temperament of seeking or being whatever they call an artist, I hate that word too, a little pompous. But if you have that kind of temperament, you're screwed.
Did you listen to the other bands much?
No more than I had to.
What'd you think of them?
Which?
Goodman?
Oh, Goodman did one thing. In '36, he did it. He never did anything since.
Glenn Miller?
Very mechanical. Lawrence Welk. Tommy, good man.
Good band.
Tommy's the only good band,
Harry
I think,
James?
of that. Harry James was too lacquer, too tearful, crying in his beer, all that schmaltz. I hated it.
Duke Ellington?
Duke, at his best, was very good. Had a good jazz band. Bassy, very good.
Jimmy Lunceford?
Jimmy, marvelous.
It's amazing how I hear that from so many disparate sides about the Lunceford.
Well, because it's true. What's valid is valid. It'll always be valid. We don't laugh at Mozart because it was 17th century.
No, I don't know.
It's dated, but it's good.
But Lunceford is a name that if you were to go through your top 10 bands, most people wouldn't even list them.
Well, he finally had to break it up.
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere. Couldn't make a living with it after a while.
How about Woody Herman? How did you regard him?
Woody had some good bands, but he stuck with a terrible thing called Woodchopper's Ball. And Woody's clarinet himself didn't, let's not kid about it. Woody doesn't kid about it. I walked into a place one time where he was playing, and Woody saw me, and he said, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not playing any clarinet tonight. The man just walked in, and he announced me. So Woody and I always got along. I mean, I liked him. We had a mutual respect, and he tried to do decent things. Kenton tried to do decent things. The point was to try to insist on some sort of dignity. We were not dance bands. Remember, dance bands suffer from the opprobrium of Meyer Davis and company. Get behind the potted palms and don't shake hands on the bandstand and all of this bullshit. I didn't want to be that. I never ever wanted to do that.
What did you want to be? What would be
A
the
growing
ideal?
person living his life and playing enough music, playing it well enough so that I could be satisfied with what I was doing and make a living.
You couldn't reconcile the musicianship with being a musician with the way you want to live your life.
Not true. I couldn't reconcile it with the fact that an audience would not support me if I did what I wanted to do. I had to do what they wanted to do. Music to order. It's like asking an artist to do illustrations for magazine stories.
But you're so terrific at it.
So what? The audience didn't care.
Well, the audience cared that you were terrific. There was
No,
300
they didn't care.
bands.
They cared because I was a nice-looking kid, and I had a band, and they liked what I did up to a certain point. I drew graphs of this, I do lectures on this
But
subject.
you say that in '49 they rejected your band, but
Totally.
up until then, wow.
Well, up until then, what? From '39, I was
36,
then the war came.
Yeah,
All right, the war knocked a hole in it. In the war, we did whatever we wanted to do. They were grateful. The kids were. They almost cried when they heard the band. There was a nice feeling about that. I had a good band in the
Mind
Navy.
playing the same things then?
Well, different kind of audience. You're playing for your peers. You're playing for kids who are out there, and you were kind of representing a piece of Americana for them. You're out on these desolated islands, these places that, the joke used to be about war aims, remember? War aims was to give the Japs Guadalcanal and make them live on it. That was the kind of thing. You were playing in these horrible places, and these guys would say, after a while, that got a bit much too. I mean, I couldn't handle that. So finally, they shipped us back here. But I came back from Mexico, and I put strings together, put a big string band together. All right, we made a record called Frenesy, Studio Men. I'm not crazy about that record, but it pointed a way. It was something that hadn't been done before. In the context of a big orchestra, you had jazz of a kind. So I put together that band that made Stardust with Billy Butterfield and Jack Janney. It was a good band. I made some fine records with that. Okay, I did what I had to do with that. Let's try something else. So I tried something else. No, they don't want that. So, the point is I was geared up to a deal in which you have to make $20,000, whatever it is, a week in order to keep paying these men. If you can't make it, you have no band. What are we talking about?
When you started, how did you cast the band? Did you set what you wanted to be musically and pick the players for it, or pick the best players and put your...
I picked the best players I could afford when I first began, and I could afford very little. I paid everybody $60 a week, and I was lucky to get $60 a week.
That was the Tony Pastor...
That band, Billie Holiday, all that.
Billie Holiday.
That's it. Billy got $60 a week, no matter what she said in her book.
What was $60 a week then?
That was the amount we could pay.
What was $60? It was nothing, was it?
In those days, you could make it.
Yeah.
You could live. You could pay. I spent $2.50 a day for a hotel room. So did the men. So if you spent $2.50, and we used to sleep over, we would do that trick of going at night, etc. So the men would spend about $8, $10 a week on rooms, and the food was cheap. And we traveled on a bus. We lived like gypsies.
Did you enjoy any of that part of it?
I loved it.
You did.
We were a growing thing. The band was evolving. I was writing music for it. I was having a ball.
Were you ever one of the guys?
Never, no, couldn't do it. You can't do that. A general can't mix with the troops.
Yeah. But you enjoyed the experience of it?
The guys liked me, I liked them, we got along fine, but on a leader-employer basis. I recognized very early on that once I became a leader, I was of another ilk, another tribe. And I'd stand there between them and the audience. I'm the middleman. They're all a bunch of wild-eyed guys wanting to play anything. The audience out there not knowing much. I'm the bottleneck that goes through me.
Are you saying...
So I kept very, very rigid control over that band.
You didn't get a kick out of being out in front there and all the people...
At that time?
Yeah,
yes, on the way up, it was great.
Yeah.
The epigraph of my first, The Trouble with Cinderella is, if you wish for something in your youth, you better look out because you may be so, etc. Unfortunate is to get it. Well, I got it. And I had a tiger by the tail. And it wouldn't let me go. It's very easy to raise your lifestyle, especially if you're a poor little kid from a Jewish kid from the Lower East Side. So you raise your lifestyle up to a point where you think, and at one point I was making so much money that I thought either I put this away or find somebody to advise me, or I'll live like an emperor. Very few people like me ever get a chance to see what it's like to live like an emperor. Be the head of your whole world, do anything you want. Had the money to do anything. I would fire guys. I became a lunatic. I would hire a manager and I'd say, get me so-and-so. He'd say, do you know how much that costs? I'd say, fire him, I don't want him. If I want to know how much it costs, I'll ask you. That's the way I was. I became tyrannical. But I learned what that was like. So I recognize every crazy when I see him. I know
when
just
when
what
did that happen? Before the war? Or you were getting nuts
Before
like
what?
Before the war?
Well, not the peak of that 38, 39 band. I was making the equivalent today of make $60,000 in 38. That's $600,000 today, in a week. You know how much money that is?
Was that coming from records, concerts?
Well, I played a week in Chicago. I forget what theater, Oriental or State, wherever. I had a percentage. I went out of there with $40,000. I did the Old Gold show. I did 5 or 7, did 2 record dates. I think I ended up with $60,000 that week, gross.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. At that time, you could buy a Cadillac for $2,000.
Now, did the money mask the fact that you weren't very happy about doing it? Or?
I didn't see the money. It went through me. I would buy a Patek Philippe every week to prove that I made money. Just to show you the scale, a Patek Philippe in those days was $300 to $500. It's at $8,300 to $6,000, $8,000. So that's what $60,000 was then. And people would say to me, I remember Sammy Kahn, what are you doing with these watches? I'd say, man, if you make $300 and you spend $300, is that a lot of money? That's what's going on here. You follow? So, it's very bedizzening. If you're a halfway sane human being, there is something so insane about that I began to ask myself, and at that time I wasn't too clear. I began to ask myself, why am I getting $600,000? All right, I'll keep $400,000. And the first clarinetist in the Philharmonic is getting $1,500 on that scale, or 150 versus 40. 40,000 versus 150. All right, let's say, even for the sake of the argument, Given I'm one of the greatest clarinet, maybe the greatest clarinet player that ever came down the pike, am I that much better than him? It began to dawn on me that this was lunacy. Then it came clear to me. I thought about it. It has nothing to do with value. It has to do with money. The manager puts me into that theater, gives me 60% of the gate. He gets $40,000 if I get 60. He'll pay me every week to make $40,000. He gives me the barn, gives me the stagehands and the lighting, and there I am.
But isn't everything artistic kind of perception and subjective? If you say Monet...
I think it's a big mistake.
If we make a market of Monet...
Well, I know, but Monet never saw that.
No, but if you take a living artist today,
what would have happened to Monet? Well, most living artists today are going a little nuts.
You take a Jasper Johnson, you pay $1 million.
I know, he's going a little crazy.
He isn't that much better than the guy that gets...
He isn't that much better. I had a friend named Mike Goldberg, who was an abstract expressionist. When I came back from Spain, I got to know Mike. He had an accountant, he bought a house, he bought himself a blonde mainline Philadelphia wife, and he lost it all. Abstract expressionism went out the window. He lost it all. He's gone crazy. He stole a painting from one of his best friends, with de Kooning. And de Kooning came back from Europe and found out he made Mike go into therapy rather than put him in jail.
While all this craziness was going on, you're making this $60,000, which is going to $600,000. Were you spending a lot of time with your music?
Well, that was going on. There was no time for that. No.
No time for music.
My head was completely turned around. I looked like the little girl in The Exorcist. My head went back.
So what happened? The arrangers?
Everything went bad. Everything went bad. I no longer was concerned with what I was doing because I was made to do the same thing over and over and over and over. I've asked interviewers who asked me this question, how would you like to interview me every day and I'll say the same things and you write the same words every day? Would you enjoy that? And they look at you and say, well, that's appalling. And that's what I had to do. Go in and go through your little bag of tricks. Do that little bag of tricks every night.
Let me ask you some questions about running a band.
By the way, leading a band on a theater stage, if you would change one tune just to get rid of that boredom, and you remember we used to do 7 shows a day, 7 days a week, months at a time. Now, you know how boring it is to start a show with Swonderful and end it with Concerto for Clarinet or whatever I was doing in those days? Every day, I'd change a tune once. The manager would come running back and say, God damn it, don't do that. Those kids will be here all day. Well, how can you live with that?
How do musicians deal with that?
I guess they turn a number, they go into another mode, as we would say in computerese.
What would turn you all on? What would get you excited? A new arrangement?
Musically?
A new song? I mean,
well, we could try to do it, but there weren't enough. I do lectures, and they're called 3 chords for beauty's sake and 1 to pay the rent. I was doing 4 for the rent. I couldn't afford not to. When we would do in a theater occasionally a piece that I really liked, with that string band. By the way, that was a hell of a band. The war broke that up.
That was the big band.
With Billy and the big string band. That was a marvelous band. Occasionally we did things in theaters that I thought were really fine. We'd play a thing called American Nocturne. It was like a concert hall. The audience would sit there in rapt silence, finish on a very unspectacular, quiet note, and they would applaud like in a concert hall. See, I deplore what goes on with this so-called jazz. People are taught to scream at the end of a solo. Another guy's starting a solo. They're missing the whole transition from the end of that solo to the new one. They're yelling, screaming, because they've been, and badly are saying, Rockinghampton, ladies and gentlemen. Instead of shut up and when it's over, applaud if you like, and then get the solos to stand up.
Well, tell me, did the Gramercy 5 give you an opportunity to spread out a little bit?
A little better than when I was in. It was a different experience. I had a big string band. We didn't have a chance to play much straight-ahead jazz, so I formed a little group.
And was that winged? Was that pretty off the cuff?
Well, we had a framework and we played jazz within it. And now and then we had the misfortune of getting a smash hit called Summit Ridge Drive. And then don't change it. You know that when I had Lenny Hayden with me, I said, let's do Begin the Beginning. Let's make a new arrangement of it. Put the old arrangement, embody it in the middle of it, and put strings around it, and add alter chords, alter harmony. We made a beautiful arrangement of it. It's been recorded. I think it was on a Musicraft record. Audience would not hold still for it. No, do it like the record.
They want what they want.
I can't argue that.
I can't argue.
They have a right. I'd feel I defrauded them if I didn't do it.
We'd have our axe play around the country, and Neil Young or something like that. He didn't want to sing the old songs. I said, the people who are here, this is the only time they're going to sing.
Joe, I understand it. I understand it too well. One of my problems is I empathize too well with the other guy. I empathize with him. It doesn't mean I agree with it.
How much of a hand did you have in picking vocalists? Did you pick everybody for the band?
I picked everybody that worked in my band. If they didn't suit me, they were not there. But at a certain point, I didn't give a goddamn anymore. I had singers like...
Okay, we'll do a Fadomatic here. Now, where are we up to? About 40 minutes. He's talking about vocalists. Well, we'll hear more of Artie Shaw. It's pretty intense, isn't it? And he's a pretty, restless character. But he was the big cheese. He just did amazing things artistically. And he became restless and suddenly saw the folly of the industry, and he is on his bandwagon there. It's an interview made in his 80s. But we'll play more of it because it does tell a story, and it sort of puts into profile the vagaries of the commercial industry and all of that, and how it tends to push artists into a particular sphere, or can. Once it always does, depends on the individual and the circumstances, all those things. But he did speak quite. He showed some particular reverence for a piece called American Nocturne. So we'll wind up with that piece today, and we'll hear more Artie Shaw in subsequent missions. Thanks, folks, for your indulgence. I'm vk3sl. More this evening.